Most marriage advice is complete garbage. And not because the people giving it are evil, not because therapy is useless, but because most advice focuses on managing symptoms instead of transforming the people inside the relationship. And the result is couples who know all the right words, all the right tools, all the right therapy language, even, while still secretly being miserable, disconnected, resentful, exhausted, and lonely. I've worked with couples for a long time, and one of the biggest things I've learned is this. Relationships don't improve because you memorize communication techniques. They improve because you become someone safer, stronger, more emotionally grounded, more honest, more generous, and more connected. That's what actually changes marriages. So today, I want to talk about 5 pieces of marriage advice that I believe are deeply wrong and what actually works instead. The first one is the idea that relationships are fixed through tools. Every couple now has a worksheet, a podcast, a communication framework, a conflict exercise, a code word, a journaling strategy. And listen, I'm not anti tools. Sometimes tools are useful. Sometimes they help slow down escalation or help people structure difficult conversations. But tools are supposed to support transformation, not replace it. If every fight in your marriage requires a 25-minute communication exercise, guess what? Your relationship is already in pretty big trouble. Eventually, people get tired. They don't want to feel like they're in a corporate retreat every time they disagree about money or sex or parenting. Real relationship change happens when you stop asking, what techniques should I use right now? And you start asking, who am I becoming inside this relationship? Are you becoming more defensive or more open? Are you becoming more entitled or more generous, more avoidant or more emotionally available? Healthy couples don't survive because they mastered a worksheet. They survive because over time, they become people who naturally know how to create safety, warmth, attraction, repair. They can laugh, there's humor, there's affection, and there's accountability, all without needing a therapist to referee every conversation. The second piece of terrible marriage advice is happy wife, happy life. I know people laugh at it. I know it sounds harmless, but I actually think it's one of the most destructive ideas we normalized in modern relationships because it teaches couples that one person's emotional state should dominate the entire relationship. And what happens is the husband starts suppressing himself to maintain peace while the wife slowly loses respect because she can feel the inauthenticity that it takes to do that. Or sometimes the wife becomes emotionally responsible for everyone in the house and silently burns out trying to carry the emotional climate of the family all by herself. Neither one works. The goal of marriage is not making one person happy at all costs. The goal should be building a relationship where both people matter. Both people have needs. Both people have limits. Both people deserve honesty. Mature love is not endlessly trying to manipulate reality into becoming exactly what you want. Mature love is being able to say, this is what makes me feel loved. This is what hurts me. This is what I deeply need. Is this something you can genuinely give me? And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. And that's where adulthood begins. A lot of people spend years trying to negotiate someone into becoming a different person instead of confronting the much scarier question, can I actually accept who this person is? Now, before I go any further, if you like this kind of no-nonsense relationship content and you want more honest conversations about marriage, attachment, intimacy, and emotional connection, make sure you hit like and subscribe because I put out videos like this every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. Now let's move on to the third thing. The third thing I think therapy gets wrong, very often at least, is that it spends entirely too much time helping people understand their pain and not nearly enough time helping people build confidence. I can't tell you how many couples I see who can perfectly explain why they're struggling. They know their attachment style. They know their trauma history. They know exactly how their mother hurt them in 1997. They can explain their emotional triggers with incredible detail. And yet they still show up in relationships feeling weak, insecure, defeated, anxious, passive, reactive, emotionally fragile. What's the message here? The message is insight is not the same thing as strength. Understanding your wounds doesn't automatically make you a better partner. What actually changes relationships is confidence. And I don't mean fake alpha male confidence or toxic self help nonsense. I mean the quiet confidence that says, I know I bring value into a relationship. I know how to create warmth. I know how to flirt. I know how to repair. I know how to create emotional safety. And I know how to lead difficult conversations without collapsing emotionally. When people feel that kind of grounded confidence, they stop acting desperate for reassurance every 5 minutes. They stop keeping score constantly. They stop treating every disagreement like proof they're unloved. Confident people bring energy into relationships. Defeated people drain that same energy from the relationships. And unfortunately, a lot of therapy accidentally trains people to over-identify with their wounds instead of helping them become stronger than the wounds themselves. The fourth piece of bad marriage advice is the obsession with logic. Anytime someone proudly tells me I'm the logical one in the relationship, my internal alarm bells immediately go off. I'm like, ooh, that's a red flag. Because most of the time, what they actually mean is I'm deeply uncomfortable with emotions. Now, don't misunderstand me. Logic matters. Logic is incredibly useful when you're building a bridge, balancing finances, solving technical problems, running a courtroom. Heck, even if you're just designing some software or learning how to use AI. But emotional intimacy is not a courtroom. Romance doesn't run on spreadsheets and debate tactics. Emotional reality cares very little about your perfectly constructed argument. You can explain for 3 straight hours why you forgot the anniversary, why you didn't text back enough, why you snapped during the fight, why you've been distant lately, and your partner may still feel hurt. They may still feel abandoned and unattractive, emotionally disconnected. And logical partners often get frustrated because they think if they can just explain themselves clearly enough, the emotions should disappear. But that's not what happens. Emotions are not engineering problems to solve, they're experiences that need to be emotionally processed. Sometimes your partner's not asking you for a defense attorney. They're asking for your emotional presence. They want you to know, do you understand what this felt like for me? Can you sit in that uncomfortable space with me just for a moment instead of trying to win the argument? Some of the smartest people I've ever met are absolutely terrible romantic partners because they can explain emotions without actually emotionally engaging with another human being. And finally, here's what I think actually works. Strong marriages, strong relationships are built through multiple bridges of connection. Most people think relationships survive because love alone makes it work, or communication alone, or sexual chemistry alone. That's not enough. Healthy marriages go wide. They're not just deep in one area. Couples need multiple ways of connecting to each other because life is long and different bridges of connection carry the relationship during different seasons. Sometimes the sexual bridge is strong. Sometimes it weakens because of stress, kids, health issues, hormones. Sometimes friendship becomes the bridge carrying the relationship. Sometimes it's teamwork, sometimes it's parenting, sometimes it's ideological stuff, a sense of shared meaning. Sometimes it's social, humor, it's emotional reliance. Sometimes it's that spiritual part of ideology. Sometimes it's a sense of financial trust. The couples that survive are usually the couples who built enough forms of very strong connection that the relationship can absorb stress without collapsing entirely. This is why some marriages completely fall apart the second sex slows down, because sex was the only bridge, or the second parenting gets hard, or the second financial stress shows up. There's no width in the relationship, nothing holding it together. But when couples spend years building friendship and affection, trust, safety, teamwork, shared goals, genuine respect, the relationship becomes resilient. Not perfect, Never perfect, I just want to be clear, but resilient. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions people have about marriage. They think healthy couples found the perfect relationship. They didn't. They built a relationship sturdy enough to survive imperfect seasons. And that's the truth most people don't want to hear. Great marriages are not built by endless analyzing of feelings, memorizing therapy tools, winning logical arguments. It's not about that. It's not about trying to keep one person constantly happy. Great relationships are built by two people slowly becoming stronger, kinder, and more emotionally aware, more confident, more honest, and more connected over time. That's what actually works.